The flashback. Michael and Emery's parents were childhood friends. Since their children were similar in age, spending so much time together made Emmery and Sammy close friends with John, Michael's younger brother. However, Sammy and John's extrovert personalities were too overwhelming for Emmery, so he began spending more time alone. When Michael noticed Emmery sitting alone reading books, he started spending time with him to give him company, thinking Emmery might be feeling lonely. Slowly, Michael and Emmery became close, with Michael becoming Emery's confidant. Michael loved Emery's company so much that he never felt Emmery was 8 years younger than him. Instead, he was intrigued by Emery's intellect. Their parents also adored their bond and, since childhood, hoped they would become mates one day. However, 5 years ago, one incident caused a crack in their bond. It was a rainy day, and Emery's extra classes ended quite late. So, Michael decided to pick him up. Emmery was standing under the roof, scrolling through his phone, wet from rain, when he heard a car honk. He turned toward the sound and saw Michael's car. He quickly ran to it and sat in the passenger seat. "You got wet?" Michael asked with concern. "Yeah, played a bit in rain. It's fine. Let's go. Change quickly after we reach home, or you'll get sick." Hey, boss," Emmery joked, giving a salute. Michael smiled and started the car. While they were on the road, Emmery did most of the talking as Michael focused strictly on driving, since rainy days increased the risk of accidents. Even though Michael was quiet, he enjoyed Emery's chatty side, which only appeared when he was with him. Just then, Michael's phone rang. It was connected to the car's Bluetooth and displayed on the screen. The call was from Michael's office. "Emmery, cut the call," Michael requested. "But it's from your office. What if it's important?" Emmery asked. "Nothing is more important than our safety, Em. It's raining heavily and the roads are slippery. I need to concentrate on driving carefully." But before Emmery could finish, the phone stopped ringing. "I'll call them back once I reach home." "Okay, as you say." They dropped the topic, and Emmery continued sharing his day. Soon, the phone rang again. It was the same caller. "Michael, I think it must be important," Emmery said. "Whatever it is, it can wait. We're nearing the crossroads. The signal will turn red in a few seconds. Why don't you pick up the call while we wait?" Emmery suggested. "I don't think that's a good idea," Michael replied, feeling uneasy. "Michael, I already feel bad that you had to leave your work to pick me up on such a busy day," Emmery said guiltily. "I did it because I wanted to," Michael reassured him. Just then, the phone stopped ringing. "Next time it rings, pick it up. Maybe it's something serious." "Fine, I'll see." As soon as Michael said that, the phone rang again. When the car stopped at the red light, and after much insistence from Emmery, Michael picked up the call. Because of the rain, there were barely any vehicles on the road. Michael was on the phone, while Emmery stared at the countdown to the green signal. Suddenly, he saw a bright light approaching rapidly. Turning to his side, he saw a large truck speeding toward them. Panicked, Emmery grabbed Michael's attention, signaling him to move the car. But before Michael could react, the truck crashed into them with such force that their car rolled over 2 to 3 times. Although the seat belts prevented them from being thrown out, both suffered severe injuries, with Emmery taking a direct impact. The crash was so loud that people sheltering in nearby shops rushed out to help. An ambulance was called, and all 3 were taken to the nearest hospital. The police informed their families and began the investigation. At the hospital, all 3 were taken directly into the operating theater for emergency surgery. Michael suffered a head injury, a broken leg, and a fractured collarbone. Emmery, however, had taken a direct hit. Severe head trauma with heavy bleeding, a broken leg and arm, multiple glass shards embedded in his body, and the most dangerous one lodged in his stomach, causing massive internal bleeding. During surgery, Emmery went into traumatic shock due to heavy blood loss and had to be revived using a defibrillator. However, he slipped into a coma. 24 hours after the accident, Michael regained consciousness. He was in immense pain and still groggy, staying awake for only a few minutes before drifting back into sleep. According to the doctor, his body was too weak and needed rest to recover. 2 days later, when he woke again, memories of the accident flooded his mind. The first thing he asked about was Emmery, but his parents and brother remained silent. "Please tell me, how is Emmery?" Receiving no response, he tried to get out of bed, but his family stopped him. "Michael, don't move. You'll hurt yourself," his father said. "Then tell me." After hesitation, John finally spoke. "He's in a coma, Michael. He lost a lot of blood and went into traumatic shock. He had to be revived, but slipped into a coma." Hearing this, Michael broke down. "It's always because of me, Mom. I shouldn't have taken the call." His mother hugged him as tears filled her eyes. Everyone was heartbroken by Emery's condition, but seeing Michael so shattered hurt them even more. "It wasn't your fault. The drunk driver lost control and hit your car." John reassured him, but Michael couldn't forgive himself. As days passed, Michael recovered physically, but with no improvement in Emery's condition. He slowly sank into depression. Once allowed to move, he would sit outside Emery's room for hours, staring at the closed door, unable to face him. He repeatedly apologized to Emery's family, who kept assuring him it wasn't his fault, yet guilt consumed him. Even after he healed, Michael visited every night, sitting outside Emery's room. By day, he worked with his father managing their company. By night, he stayed at the hospital. Exhaustion and guilt took a toll on his health, but he ignored it. After 3 months, Emmery finally woke from the coma. He had no memory of the accident. The doctor diagnosed him with dissociative amnesia due to trauma. When Emmery learned Michael had been with him during the accident, he immediately asked about him and was relieved to hear Michael had recovered and been discharged 2 months earlier. When Emmery wanted to see him, he was told Michael visited every night and sat outside his room. But that night, Michael didn't come. Emmery waited, but eventually fell asleep due to medication. The next day, he asked again, but no one had answers. This continued for a week. No calls, no messages, no visits. One night, pretending to sleep, Emmery overheard his father talking to Michael on the phone. Michael was still asking about him daily, but refused to meet him out of guilt. Hearing this, Emmery silently cried and decided he would meet Michael himself after discharge. But when he was finally discharged, he learned Michael had left the country a week earlier without meeting him. Shocked and heartbroken, Emmery fainted from stress. After waking, he decided he would try contacting Michael one last time. If Michael didn't respond, he would stop, determined to recover his memories. He began therapy and studied psychology, exposing himself to triggers, but nothing worked. Years passed. Loneliness, unanswered questions, and abandonment slowly turned into resentment. Then, on his 18th birthday, he heard a voice in his dreams. "I'm sorry, I failed you." The voice sounded like Michael, but he thought it was just a coincidence and ignored it. However, the dreams became frequent, and Emmery found comfort in them. 2 years after the accident, a minor road incident triggered his lost memories. He remembered everything, but he told no one. He decided he would only reveal the truth when Michael returned on his own. Yet, as time passed, trust faded, patience broke, and only resentment remained.